Welcome, Hind. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. And you?
I'm fine, Alhamdulillah. First of all, congratulations on passing your PMP. Finally, you did it.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you for coming to the rescue. Yeah, like your help was amazing with sending me those mock exams and reviewing with me any last questions that I had, but also coming back to the exam questions that I got wrong, and learning from them, trying to understand why it's this answer and not the other one. I think that was the most helpful thing ever, like doing this retrospective kind of work. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, and also the fact that you were using the whiteboard to really explain concepts I was struggling with, that was really, really, really helpful.
I remember you first contacted me maybe sometime back in February, March. We had a small 15, 20-minute session uh, where you had some queries and then you somehow started preparing. So can you tell what methodology you uh, utilize to prepare yourself and what would you do different if you have to start all over again?
Well, the first thing that I would have done different for sure is that I would have contacted you before the last minute because most of the
Okay.
learnings, because what I did, just to go back to February, yes, I did contact you on February because that's where I decided I would go for the PMP, right? And it was right after I took the 35 PDUs, but I still was lost. Like I had lots of questions and I didn't know where to start. It was like overwhelming with all the concepts, knowledge, formulas. I didn't know if I should just learn them by heart and then go to the PMP exam and just, you know, it will be straightforward, just asking you for questions and then you have to give the formulas, and which is not the case. And when we had this first meeting, you tried to tell me overall how things work with PMP. It's more case scenarios and it's more about understanding the concepts than learning them by heart. Also, when you understand them, but like really understand them, there is no need to learn them by heart because you understand them, so you can apply them wherever. So that was valuable. And then I went by my own just to review all the concepts and have a deeper understanding of them, like every single word, every single concept, from agile to predictive, in agile as a mindset, the scrum, like all of them really understand. And then when I wanted to start applying them, I did some quiz questions that I found online, but I also used like two of your quiz questions that you had shared with me back in time. Uh, but I didn't have enough time to do the exam test, and that's when I contacted you because I needed some samples, right? And thank you
Yeah.
for sending me those two samples. And thank you for telling me that you could have helped me more and sent more if I had contacted you a bit earlier than my exam due date. But these two were very helpful, especially the second one because it was more close to the PMP. Also, it was harder. So it challenged me, right? So it really
Yeah.
challenged me. So I thought that the PMP was a little bit less harder than the second exam that you gave me. And these two sessions that we had after, like looking back at the answers for the first and second exams and what went wrong, what went well, and how I should think differently, and then explaining like the scrum, which I didn't understand very well at the very beginning. The fact that you were using the whiteboard and explaining like the real principles of it, that was very helpful. What I would have done differently, yes, basically what I said, I would have contacted you a bit before my exam due date for more exams.
So, and you remember when your scores were not as per your expectation in your mocks. So I keep telling you that this exam is harder. Don't worry about it. Stay focused. Your scores are very good, and you will clear it, inshallah. And you finally did it.
Yeah,
So
Alhamdulillah, you were right. I stressed for the first exam when I got the 68%. I was like, no, what? And your passing grade was like 80. So I'm like, oh, I failed. I'll fail the PMP exam. But you were like, just stay focused. It's hard. Like, it's good. Like 68% is really good, which, yes, you were right. And yeah, alhamdulillah, I got it.
Tell us about the exam day, how you uh, uh, prepared for it, or I think you gave your exam online. So how was the experience, and what were the exam questions type? What were the topics that were dominant on the exam?
What more of agile than predictive, for sure.
Okay.
It was the only advice I would give is that we need to read and reread the case, right? Because sometimes only one word would change the whole thing.
Yeah,
Like if I have to give an example, when you do a closeout, you have a process to follow. So you first start with defining the duties, and then you go with transferring to the customer, and then you have to open you have to close the contracts with the procurement, and then there are steps that you follow, but
yeah,
sometimes in the case they would tell you that everything like the first and second step were already done. What would be the third step? And if you don't read and
yeah,
reread, maybe your first answer would be go back to the definition of done, right?
yeah,
And the acceptance criteria. So yes, my advice would be to really read the case and then go to the question, and for each question, like, read it. Don't think, oh no, that's not the good question, let me go to the second one, let me go to the third one. And sometimes you have to read the four of them, because there is not best answer, but it's the best among these four
among them.
answers. It's
Yeah,
very
and
relative.
you remember there were some of same the type of question in the mocks as well, and you were asking me why this is the right answer, and this is what exactly I told you, that you do not have to go for the right answer, you have to go for the best one among the choices that are there. So yeah, that is very important for the exam. And your favorite question, you kept asking me in the revision sessions about the formula questions and calculation ones. So, how many were there?
Yeah, like I spent like 3 days learning by heart the formulas. Like literally 3 days learning by heart the formulas. I'm like, if I'm given this, I have to calculate this and I have to do this. Well, yes, it's good to know the formulas, because then you understand how things, like if they talk about CPI, you know how the CPI is calculated, and you know what is involved in that calculation, but you won't have much calculations to do. I literally had two questions where I had to use my calculator. Not even, like, I used it for one, and then the other one was so straightforward and easy that I didn't even have to use my calculator for it.
So I was right. I told you yet that you will get one or at max two questions. So calculations can be there. So you got exactly two, and
Exactly, I got to.
and these are also more conceptual to check your understanding rather than doing complex type of calculations, because you know you do not have much time in exam to do complex kind of calculations. Okay,
And
so talking about yeah, yeah,
it's really important to understand the charts, because I had a couple of questions where I had charts, be it the interest power for the stakeholder chart, and then you have to put, dependent on the stakeholder, where in the chart is located, whether it's about burn down charts where you have to say if you need more resources. Like, it's really important to understand those charts and why we use them and how we use them.
and talking about the domains like team, stakeholder, communication, risks. So what did you find the dominant ones uh, apart from agile? What were the areas that were dominant on the exam?
Risk for sure, and communications.
How did you manage your time during the exam? You told me that the first 60 questions you were not very comfortable with that.
Yeah, that's why, like, at the first place, because I only started, I was not really well managing my time. Like, I took my time for every question to read and reread, and when I answer, I go back to that answer and make sure that it's the correct one and start thinking about it. And it took me a huge amount of time, right? Like, when I first finished the 60 questions, I was using more than one third of the time. Like, I didn't have that much
Oh,
for the second and third part, so this stressed
uh-huh.
me a little bit, because this meant I would have to rush in the other parts, right? And
yeah,
even my break, like instead of 10 minutes, I only took 5 minutes because I thought that was taken from the time. Well, it's not. It's your 10
yeah, yeah,
minutes,
it's not.
right?
Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't manage. But so my advice would be to really um, manage the time since the very beginning, so that you don't add stress to your examination. And also to I think we should believe and trust in our gut. Like if you feel first place, this is the right answer, don't think about it too much.
too
Otherwise you
much.
get
Yeah,
lost, right?
yeah,
So yes,
yeah. It,
read the case 2 times, read the four answers, and if you feel like the second is the right one, just go for it and move, right?
and when I say this, I think we talked about this as well in the session that all right, theoretical part or understanding the concepts is important, but your actual learning or actual preparation will come when you practice, do more and more practice questions, especially the quality one. So how do you agree with that now, since you have been through the exam now?
200%. 200. If I knew, I wouldn't allocate much time to the concepts. Like it took me weeks and weeks just reading the concepts and really understanding and looking on over the books, PM book, to really understand every single thing, little detail of every concept. While this is something that I could have understood if I was doing more sample exams, right, and put in this situation, because I would see the different case
Perspective.
scenarios where this is, yeah, where this is applicable.
We discussed about the 6 week study plan that I have prepared for my students. So, how much you agree with that? That the study plan is basically about that you do the sessions in 3 weeks, and then you start doing the quizzes along with the sessions. And once we are done with the session, so you directly jump to the mock exams. So within 6 weeks, you are ready for the exam. How much do you agree with this methodology as well?
Well, it depends on how long you commit every day to the prep. That was not my case. It was not in 6 weeks. Like I took longer in the prep period. But if I had to do that, or advise someone, I would definitely share that PDF that you gave me with the summary of all the concepts that we need to know per 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 per
Topic.
um, per topic and domain. Like that
Mhm.
was very relevant because yeah, it touches on everything and it's also a plan to follow. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely was helpful. And then I'll start the samples right after.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, that 6 week is the best case scenario if you put the energy and the effort. So that is why it is important to have your own study plan and then you stick to it. You talked about the support that you got already. So, what can be your final thoughts or advice to the people who are preparing for the PMP exams?
Like as I said, my first advice would be to follow your plan. That's very complete, very exhaustive. It has everything we need to know as concepts. Not to focus a lot like I did on the formulas and the computations and all those things. It's more about understanding the concepts and when we apply them and in different scenarios, right? And then start doing as much as we could of exam tests. And yours are just perfect because I felt like the second one was harder than the actual PMP exam, which was good because it challenged me. And then it's really important to go back to the answers that were wrong to understand why it's wrong and what we could have done different.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time, your uh, knowledge sharing, your how your experience was, and I hope it will help people who are studying for their PMP exams to understand how to prepare, how to approach. So once again, thanks from my side and from all the people who may be watching this video later on
Good
and
luck, everyone.
gaining from your experience.
Good luck,
Thank
everyone. And
you.
thank you very much, Imran. Thank you.